We're going to be exploring this tunnel here in Japan today. And it goes on for quite some time, but in order to see where we're going, it's good to understand where we started. And so right now we're in the area of Nagano, and this is the area of Azamino. There's a whole bunch of mountains on each side, and we've kind of slightly climbed up the edge of one of these mountains so that we can go into this tunnel today. Now, there's a ton of nature around here, and the lights that you see inside turn on automatically. So this tunnel dates back over 100 years and connects to a series of walking paths that go from one end of the area to the other. I had actually discovered this tunnel and the tunnel system several years back when I came on an adventure traveling through Japan and found myself at the other end of the tunnel. Now, this hiking path will take us down through what used to be a section of Japan's national railway that was built out around Meiji year 30. So well over 100, I'd say somewhere around 130 years ago. And all these side access ports have now been walled off. But since it's a beautiful area and a very worthwhile hike, I wanted to share it with you guys today. Now, for this one, I'm going to leave specific access information right down below so that you can check it out. You can access it by public transportation, but it is quite far. We've come from down there, and we'll be going on and exploring all the way through here, including the nature walk. They've removed all the train lines that were once here, and locals love to come out here, especially on the weekends. But today we've come out kind of midday on a weekday and managed to catch it somewhat peacefully. But along the way, hopefully we'll have a few other things we can discover. And that is tunnel number 1. And it brings you out to these beautiful mossy walls. And this side too. Just like that, you can see the road running up above it. We've got the power lines up here. And a mysterious 30. But now, I've been down to the other end of this tunnel. Let's take a quick peek up here and see what we can find. There seems to be like a hut or little shack there that leads to somebody's home. And then this here will likely just lead us right back up to the mountain road that runs through here. So come back down here, watching our step as we go. But this was abandoned. I guess decommissioned is a better word. Some 20 to 30 years ago. And when they built new railway systems through the area, and this walking path is really peaceful and nice. We've got the sounds of the birds in the background, the rocks under our feet. And Japan is filled with these old, abandoned, and rarely used tunnels. In fact, on the main channel a few years back, I did a video on a bunch of tunnels that many believe to be haunted. Now, some believe in that stuff, many don't. But there are a lot of Japanese legends and stories of seeing women popping up in these tunnels in a white dress. And the idea of that is, well, freaky enough as it is. But some of them are built, like one of them had a cemetery uplifted and moved on top of the tunnel. And a lot of them are out in areas like this as well, with some even right in cities like Tokyo. If you're interested, I will link that whole video for you to check out. It was an adventure. It was shot over maybe 2 or 3 different trips where I just kept finding myself exploring these tunnels hidden out in the mountains. Some completely unused and abandoned, and some rarely but still sometimes used by work trucks. As we get out into here, it's a bit of a clearing, and it should lead down to another tunnel down there. But the last time I was here, I had climbed up and found some fairly interesting spaces along the way, because some, but not all of these, actually lead to interesting things. And this one looks like it's got tire tracks coming up it. So I wonder if this was just a workspace or if they've actually built something up here. When you get to the top, there is absolutely nothing but nature up here. You can see a little bit of the towns and villages down below. And amazingly, while the entrance to the tunnel, the 2 ends, are marked on Google Maps, the walking route itself, you actually have to really zoom in and take a peek in order to find. So coming down this way, we'll continue our walk. All of these walks are just things that I used to do for exploration on my own, and now I get to bring you guys along with. And this looks like some kind of pulley system here. I wonder what for. Because it looks like it would likely be considerably more modern than the train system would have been. But since this is a popular walking route, especially on the weekends, they've got benches and whatnot set up along here. Then, if I'm not mistaken, there should be even a toilet set up somewhere. Okay. They don't want us to take off that sign, but this is blocking off something. It looks like there was a bit of a stove down there. And when I found myself at the other end of this, it was on a day that I was in just a little bit of a rush. I was wrapping up a former adventure back maybe some 2 years ago, and just swung by to take a peek at one of the tunnels at the end. And it piqued my interest in the area, and I've wanted to come back ever since. Over the past couple days, we've been traveling across this area of Japan all around Nagano, trying to find unique, hidden, abandoned, and unknown spaces that I'll all put together into a playlist and put it all into one big video as well, so you can kind of go through and find anything that might interest you. And it's kind of become a yearly tradition now. But taking a look at this here, this would have been a gorgeous area for a train to be coming through, especially knowing how long ago it was made. You know it was a beautiful train that was coming through here as well. We got a bit of a opening here in the sky, but I spent my morning recently up on the top of a mountain at the edge of Nagano, shooting one of the most beautiful, one of my top spots here in Japan, one of my favorite places. Unlike this, which you can access by public transportation, but is about a 40-minute walk from the station. But if you're going to do this walk anyway, what's an extra 40 minutes, right? There are people who quite literally will do Mount Fuji from sea to summit, starting at the ocean and then climbing all the way up to the top of the mountain. And that is wild. I have a friend who used to do that every single year as his tradition. And there's a saying in Japan that the wise man climbs Mount Fuji once, the fool climbs more. And it can be quite a challenge, but some people fall in love with that challenge, and it's completely understandable. But the place that I found, place that I visited recently up on the top of the mountain does not have any public transportation access. You need a car to get up there. But if you can get up there, it is so worth it. It is a gorgeous, mossy forest that goes around a giant pond. And it has been marked the Forest of Mononoke, as in the Ghibli movie, Mononoke. And if you get in there at just the right time, with the sun cutting through the trees, you can see exactly why it is called that. And I think I see the entrance to another tunnel up here. But despite that being one of my favorite locations, it's also most certainly not the best location that we found on this trip. And that one is kind of still up for grabs. You see, fairly early on in this trip, we found an abandoned amusement park and ran into a little trouble while there. And there is a temple up on the side of a mountain that was an equally beautiful walk. And again, if you've seen any of these, let me know which one you think was the best. It's a very, very hard choice for me as somebody who has been to and through all of these. But this area here reminds me of one of my favorite parts of Japan. You see, there's a very seldomly visited island of Japan called Shikoku. And Shikoku is not that hard to access, but unfortunately doesn't have any bullet trains running through it. Which means a lot of people, when they come on the main tourist trail, also just kind of loving this space down here. It's the moss running up the walls. It just never gets boring. But Shikoku, because it doesn't have a bullet train coming through it, whether tourists from overseas or even domestic tourists tend to skip over it a little more. But Shikoku is also filled with some of the best, most beautiful, and most abundant hidden gems in all of Japan. In fact, I've spent years going back and forth between Tokyo and Shikoku, just shooting videos. Shikoku is where we found the abandoned school with Gyo-chan, the man who roasts the coffee and lives in the school. Shikoku is where we found Ayaka and her bar Add Color. And there's so many incredible spaces. And if I had to recommend people to get off the beaten path and visit anywhere in Japan, just to really, really nail down a high value trip that's very different from what most people experience, I would recommend Shikoku. But it does take that extra effort, and so many people don't. And that's also one of the things that makes it great, is because many people don't, it ends up being very quiet. And we've got a little bit of this like a temple-esque building up here. Let's take a peek. Stairs are really uneven, although aesthetically pleasing. I will only give them a 6 out of 10. And coming around here, it's a bit of a temple, shrine? Don't really know. We have some emma over here where people will write their wishes on. And then almost what looks like a stage space. And I have a massive spider web hanging off my camera. And then if we come down here, what do we got? This might be Decommissioned Shrine. Sounds about right. We'll just say that this is Decommissioned Shrine. It's such a long name. Unnecessarily long. And we'll come back down the stairs here. Because they're so uneven, I've got to try not to fall. We'll take it nice and easy as we go. There we are. Looks like there's also another road that leads up here, but I'm guessing it's actually part of this person's property because it seems like there's a house or a little farm here. And from what I can tell, they've actually got a bit of an electric fence set up around it as well. Okay. I'm going to assume that's part of their property. And this here, the electric fence, that was English. That was all the good English. The electric fence here would usually be to keep larger animals out. Perhaps in this area, since we are on the mountain, yet more bears. So lovely with the bears. And that is somebody's house. They've got their little K-truck parked out front. Not a bad choice of places to live. But I have yet to see where that truck would come up from the main road to here. And it seems like they've got a little onion farm or something growing up there as well. And I can't tell if that's a hard turn or a tunnel up above, but we'll keep walking and find out. Now, these here are also somewhat spread throughout the area. This is just kind of a metal staircase that leads up to, well, nothing. Obviously, a viewpoint for something. But what do you think it's a viewpoint for? What do you think they're trying to see? Because the tree cover kind of prevents you from seeing too much over this here. And the other one is literally just crammed right into the top of a forest and doesn't see over any of the trees at all. And there we go. So we've got a sign here, Higashidaira, and then I guess they would access the road from here. There's another house over here, and we're entering into another tunnel of trees down here. Now they're actually, some 4, 5, 6 kilometers of tunnels, but I want to get up to my favorite one down here, which I thought was really nice the last time we visited, mile marker 31. The walk along the way is just filled with so many. There's like a shrine or something over there. I wonder if we're going to be able to access it. It does look like there's a little road, and then from this house here, there's a little staircase that comes down like that. These walking and hiking paths, it's always really interesting to see the little homes that are built along them. When we walked the Nakasendo, I was really surprised at just how many people's yards, just literally their garden or their yard, the Nakasendo, the old Nakasendo trail, just passes right through. And almost always, I didn't have any, so I will say always, everyone that I ran across was a very friendly person who greeted me, who was happy to see me on the walk. And there we go. And then this stops here. We wouldn't want to attempt to go too far beyond here. Looks like there is a bit of a path of somebody who goes through here somewhat often, but I'm guessing they probably have a purpose. In an area like this, there might be some kind of local plant that they eat, or even like a little bamboo grove out there with just the right type of bamboo that they could plant and get takenoko, the bamboo seedlings or whatever, the baby bamboo. And you can actually see parts of the old railway right here. This is the first one that I've seen. Maybe I've missed others, but from here on, cars are prevented from coming in, and we have another one of these almost Half-Life-esque viewpoints. I'm gonna have to try and go up and see what it's about. The last one was basically on that person's property, so I didn't want to go up onto it. But this one here looks like we'll have access, and we can kind of explore and see what the goal of it might be. I have my questions. I've thought about it quite a bit after the last visit, and I could have just as easily looked it up, but sometimes the mental exercise is fun. Gotta wonder though, these kind of countryside Japan walks and adventures are always the highlight of my year. I usually start them somewhere around the spring and continue them into the summer. And usually when fall comes around, I have other projects that I'm working on fall and winter. And so I really enjoy the spring and the summer seasons the most. Although summer in Japan can get a little I don't know about going up on this one. It's probably still strong enough, but there's that bend in the leg there. It hasn't been like blocked off or anything, so we'll take a little bit of a peek. It's a bit of a dam space here. Feels solid enough, so we'll go up nice and slow, keeping our ears about us. I wonder if these are just leftovers from when the train came through. But again, the very first one that I ever found was just up in a mountain. You couldn't even really see the train track from it. So this is the view we get, but it feels like it had to be part of the railway system. That's going to be my guess. Some kind of lookout or hook point, something like that. Trying to go down as safely as we can. And then once we get out of this, I will hop down to the other side. Do a quick stop just to check for leeches, which should be fine in an area like this. Yep, we're clean. Just because one of the first adventures that we did on this trip, I found myself going through the wrong area, and I came through very carefully, but my escape was done in absolute haste. in the hopes of saving my own life. And in the process, I was not as careful with where I stepped. And as we talked about the bamboo before, there's a whole bamboo grove right here. These seem like a different type of bamboo. They may be potentially a little too thin to grab the takenoko. The bamboo shoots. That's the word I was looking for, bamboo shoots. And when I got back to the camper van, I was like, oh, I've got a leech. I got 2. I got 10. Final count was somewhere around 15, and that was a ton of fun. And we got more bamboo over on this side as well. So my guess is that whoever uses that little path back there is using it for some kind of foraging to find either bamboo shoots or mushrooms or some local plant life. I'd gone up to Ishikawa, to the area of Noto, fairly, and this is the view we've got down here. There's a house out there, and that was one of those big Japanese killer wasps. Get a bad rap, but I haven't been killed by any yet. And you come across them quite often too. Even in Tokyo, surprisingly right near Tokyo Tower, there's like more than you would expect. I see them fairly often. And bug in the mouth. Coming down this way, we cross over this road here. And when I went out to Noto in Ishikawa Prefecture, they actually took us out into the forest to do some foraging for local kind of plant life, edible plant life, food, if you will, that they then prepared for us for dinner. And it was quite the experience. We've got more sets of the track right here as we go along. And the next tunnel should just be right up here. And that area as well is one where we found some really interesting stuff. I found this like man-made cave tunnel thing and asked the lady, I was like, what was this for? And she was like, I can't remember if she said food or munition storage, or I can't remember. It's an old video, but she's like, you can go in and it's probably fine, but you're gonna have to watch out for mukade, which are Japanese centipedes. And while I didn't come across any in the tunnel, we did come across, I think, geji, which are like, I think they're called house cat. Just look up geji, Geji, twice, geji. And they're actually really good to have in your home. They take care of other pests and all of that, but they look terrifying the first time you ever see one. And I do not enjoy them. We do come across very aggressive centipedes every now and then. And there have been times where I've stayed at places in Shikoku, the place we were talking about earlier, and come across some centipedes there. It's always fun just to, go to sleep and wake up and there's like randomly 2 dead centipedes on the ground and you're like, oh God, that could have been on me. But I've, knock on wood, yet to be bitten by one or harmed by any of the aggressive nature that exists in Japan. Now, if you're from Australia, for example, hearing the words aggressive nature in Japan would be all but laughable. But a lot of people born in safer areas, You don't realize that you come out to Japan and you do have like poisonous snakes. You've got these poisonous centipedes. There are bears and boars and other aggressive animals that you can come across on these walks, which is why I always keep spray with me. We've talked about it before. I see something up here. This is most likely our next tunnel. What a nice walk this is. You can see the power for it came along these lines here, and it's all been disassembled. But being from Canada originally, if you didn't know that, I am Canadian. What do we got to worry about? Yeti? Like snowmen? I did like snow. That's what we got to worry about. Snow. And if you're up north, you've kind of got to be a little more careful with moose and out west, bears. There are snakes, but for the most part, growing up in Canada, I never really had an issue. Mind you, the first time I ever saw a moose in person, holy was I surprised at the size. It was a big boy too. I was pretty sure like the shoulder blade on it came up to around my head, and I was a full-grown adult at that point. Its head had to be 8-9 feet up in the air, maybe more. And then the antlers just make it so much more daunting. And there are certain parts of this that they've left with the railway aesthetic. Like this would have once been what is called a fumikiri, rail crossing. And in Japan, when you come across a rail crossing, like an active rail crossing, not this one, you actually treat it like a stop sign. And you stop right before it and then continue on before going. These momiji trees over here are also really nice. I feel like this would likely be a really nice walk to do in the fall as well, with all of this changing color. Oh. And we've got something up here. I keep coming around bends expecting that to be the tunnel, that to be the tunnel, and then it's not. And over here there is, oh no way, I bet you, no, because they don't have an electric fence around that. Very curious. So there is, not quite sure what that is, but you likely can't hear it, but I definitely can. Right above this area here, there's just a swarm of bees, because it seems like a beekeeper has set up a bunch of hives. And oh, don't leave. I wanted to get this butterfly because you don't see as many butterflies nowadays, and it's just really happy to see him. If you come down just a little closer so you guys can get a peek at the boxes here. There we go. And that is just a massive swarm of bees just buzzing up above that, and actually around me right now as well. That is, usually they're a little more chill and peaceful. In one of my favorite people that we've ever met as we've done these adventures is when we went and tracked down the people who lived in the abandoned village, and we came across the beekeeper on the side of the road who just had the best voice of any human I have ever heard in my entire life. This man, I could listen to him talk about butter. He could talk about literally anything, and I would just sit there with a grin on my face listening to it. But he was kind of the final key that unlocked us, finding the one remaining resident sneakily living at the top of the mountain. We've got a little sign here that talks about a bit of the history and shows the railway path and where it went through. So you got the station down there, and then you would walk to, many people walk to, there's actually a shrine out here. And then coming to the tunnel, up through, there is the, which set of, okay, seems like we are right about here, which means right around the bend up here is going to be our next tunnel. And this set of toilets is considerably nicer. And again, they have old sections, pieces, remnants, if you will, of the rail system left right here. Looks like this is actually used. Yep, there's a road that runs up there as well. I'm really interested to get an idea of what kind of local farming is happening here. What do they pull out of the ground? What do the hello crow? Yeah, how you doing? Lots of crows around here as well. But I'd love to know, what kind of stuff are they pulling out of the ground? What are they farming? Believe it or not, places like this, there'll be people who will come up, buy a plot of land, and set up something as simple or random as a wasabi farm. And we've come across that before. Got some random mushrooms here. Just want to stop and say hello to the mushrooms. But we have come across that before out in an abandoned village. A gentleman who used his family's old plot of land there. And while the house has long since been torn down, even though it's considerably out of the way for him, I think he said something like 45 minutes each way, so an hour and a half round trip, he has just set up a wasabi farm out there and just goes back every now and then to collect his wasabi. And then we've got our next tunnel right up here. But also, we've got a gentleman up here with a little doggo. He seems to be hanging out in the tree. Dear sir, what are you up to in that tree? We are curious. More sections of the old railway right up here. And every now and then it peeks out into this view like this. Ah, okay, see? Whatever is on this tree, he is foraging for. What have we got here? What have we got? These, it's an odd shape. They're not, it's too big to be a tomato plant. What have we got? What is this? What tree is this?
グミとかズミとかって言いますね。
ズミ。
はい、ズミかグミか、
はい、
地方によって違うんですけど、
はい。
そうなんですよ。
どんな味ですか？
食べてみてください。
え、食べてもいいですか？
赤いの。
赤いの。Okay, so he encouraged me to try one. He said, find a red one.
真っ赤いのね。
All right. Here we go.
なかなかどうですか？
甘い。
うん。甘いですよね。
はい。
真っ赤いのね。
へえ。
昔はね、子供が食べたんですよ。
そうなんですか。
はい、
最近の子供は食べないんですか。
子供は食べない。
はあ、すいません、邪魔しちゃってありがとうございます。Those were actually really delicious. I don't know what to compare them to, The flavor is, the texture is almost like tomato-esque, but the flavor is much more like a berry. It also feels like there's kind of a stem running through. And he said they're called either zumi or gumi. People call them both. And that they used to be a popular treat for kids, but kids don't eat them recently. And now I have a new fruit that I'm very interested in. I really liked that. Oh boy. I'm going to go ahead and guess that it's probably his property and probably his tree. So if you do happen to come through here, maybe don't just be taking stuff out. Who knows? Maybe he's a random guy who's just picking stuff off the tree himself. But I appreciate him being kind enough to see that door is open right there. Chances are that's just his house and his property. Also, I have questions. This just seems like a house, but they have a collection of road signs back there. Why? Is it just like it's just a normal house? I think it is. Seems to be just a normal house, and then right there, you've got a collection of random road signs. Interesting. On we go to our last tunnel, which should be just up here. So it was a very sweet berry-esque flavor. The aftertaste is actually really nice too. It's got an aftertaste that's like lingering a bit. And I'm trying to... In Japanese we say like sawayaka. But I don't want to say fresh, almost refreshing. It's got a bit of a nice and refreshing aftertaste. It was a journey. So first you get past the texture. It's kind of soft and near tomato, somewhere between a tomato and a berry. We'll put it there. Leaning more towards berry. And the flavor has that sweetness with a little bit of tang, a little bit of sourness in it. I would say 75% sweet, 15 sour, and the remaining little smidge we have there being tang. And then it leaves a really refreshing and pleasant aftertaste in your mouth. And I got so focused on the berries that I almost completely missed that down there. But I find myself wondering if there's any markets that I'm going to be able to find those at. Because I just want to get a bunch and take them home. That was fantastic. I just want to snack on them during this road trip. It's always nice to come along and kind of chat with the locals like that. It's little things like that is why I highly recommend, if you're going to come to Japan and you're on the fence about learning Japanese, even just learning basic stuff. Nothing I said there was difficult. I was like, what kind of tree is this? And what's the flavor like? And very, very simple stuff makes a nice conversation. So if you are on the fence and you've ever considered learning Japanese, I highly recommend it. I've got a whole video on the main channel of how I learn Japanese if you're interested. I was lucky enough to start kind of young, but if I started right now, if I had to start from zero right now, I would probably follow the same path to get where I am. And even if you are like, oh, it's beyond my personal abilities at this point in my life to learn Japanese, I will not be doing that. Just as easily you could pull up Google Translate on your phone, or ChatGPT or whatever translation tool you want to use and have a translated conversation. As long as you're making the effort and you've got that smile on your face, I don't think anybody's going to have any problem at all interacting with you. I think a lot of people come and they get worried about offending people or maybe saying the wrong thing. And one of the beautiful things about Japan is just how open and welcoming many of the people are. Of course, that's not everybody. Humans are humans no matter where you go. You'll run into all types. But I have yet to have a bad experience from walking up to somebody and just asking them a question, having a smile on my face and a bit of a chit chat. Actually, just a day or two ago, I had stumbled across an abandoned love hotel and wanted to take a peek inside and learn a little bit more about it. And I noticed that there were actually workers inside, so I asked them what they were up to, and they were talking about stripping out all the wiring and piping from the inside. And at first I was like, oh yeah, old Japanese abandoned building, it's time to go. This thing is getting torn down. And they're like, and then we're going to refit it with new piping and wiring and rebuild it into something new. And I was like, that's incredible. Got some work going on over here. And, it seems like a truck yard. And I think I see our next tunnel up ahead. Yep. Doing work on trucks up here, but let's jog up just a little bit to our next tunnel up here, because you can finally see it now. I didn't know what to expect when coming through this walk. I don't know, maybe I expected 2, 3, 4, 5 tunnels, and there are more tunnels beyond this one. Maybe 1 or 2, but they're down quite a ways. And so we're gonna come through this one here into a really nice little area. Really? Okay. It's also encouraging us to go, it's all coming back to me now. Wow, I don't think we can walk through that tunnel. We'll try. I think we can access it from the other side. And if we can't, we'll just come back here. It mentions another tunnel below. This here was the first tunnel that I found when I came in here. And all the bricks that are in these tunnels were made locally. Some 100+ years ago. I wonder, would the flashlight help at all? Not really. Doesn't change anything, does it? But as we come through to the other side over here. Oh wait, this wasn't it, was it? Guys, I think there's one more tunnel down here. This wasn't the one. Okay. We're gonna pick up the pace just a little because there's one more tunnel down here. And it's got some interesting statues and whatnot stored alongside of it. And that is the one I thought we were heading to. But it turns out we ended up in the middle tunnel. I don't feel like it can't be that far, can it? Either way, we're blessed with a beautiful outdoor walk here. And see now, I have so many questions. Because there are markers for statues up here. But I feel like it was further down here. Maybe that was it. Oh, I'm so curious. Nah, there's no way that I'd gone all the way down to that one. That had to be it back there. Oh, that would make sense. Why that other tunnel is there. It's just been so long since I've been here that I didn't recognize it. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We will head back this way. We've finally come across some other people who are just hiking out here and enjoying their time. But if this is not the one here, I also abandoned shack that I just 100% blew by and did not notice at all. So we'll go up to this section here, which will kind of take us up above the tunnel. And if I recognize the statues, and if it has another one of those viewpoints, then we're definitely in the right spot. But after 2+ years of not being here, my memory seems to have faded more than I expected it to. And you can see that quite a few people come through here. There's a walking path that's been carved out, but I'm pretty sure if this is the right tunnel, the other time I would have come from the other side to come up and see the statues. But I also just really love this little walking path. Oh, this just feels like such a little treat. I love it. I'll tell you, today so far, between my morning walk, a video that we did before this, and this, it's saying that so far I've walked about 31,000 steps today, which feels, I thought maybe 20 most. At most is the proper English, by the way. 20 at most. But, okay. You know what? I recognize this path. This might be it. I recognize this path because at the end I was really late and I full speed just booked it down this path. This was our tunnel because we've got these guys up here. There we go. This is the original viewpoint that I was talking about. And I guess if everything was completely cleared out, you would have a view of the trains. But when you come up here with it as is, again, like, it just kind of gives you a view of, well, the forest. So, again, oh, this is fun. If you get vertigo, I am sorry. But, I wasn't expecting to do climbing. I should have kept the hiking boots on. I did so much walking in the hiking boots in the first half of the day that I kind of wanted to give them a break and switched to other shoes. That was a bee in the face. But coming up this way here, there we go. We have this little abandoned hut right here, which we'll take a peek inside of in a second. And then this actually continues a little bit up the mountain as well. Oh, been a really nice hike so far. Let's take a peek inside of here before we head down. See if we can't find the other tunnel, because there is a tunnel down below. The one that I was like, oh, we're not going to make it down there. I don't remember it being that far. You got a stove in there, some old just wiring and aluminum. And then we'll come back down this path. I hit this space in such a hurry the last time that I was here. I got such vigorous speed. I literally sprinted up this hill here and sprinted down to the little tunnel area that we're about to head to. And so I do not remember it all being this far and this long. Me slipping here as I try to make my way down this with rocks rolling underneath my feet. It would be absolutely, sorry, finger in the shot, fantastic if we didn't fall while going down this hill. Makes me wonder how last time I managed to do this at such a heavy speed. Also, as I do this, full confession, I am pulling out my power bank and trying to charge this camera as we walk and talk, because I was like, oh, this will be a nice 20-30 minute walk. And here we are, still going, and along with it, the battery is going as well. We were down to some 9%. Oh, and this is really soft. So this will bring us down onto the other side of the tunnel, and the very soft and mushy ground, because we're just in the rainy season right now, and today we're getting this beautiful break from the rain. But this soft and mushy ground, which looks so stable and dry, is making me really regret my shoe choice. And now coming down on this side, now I recognize it. Gotcha. Okay, I think last time when I arrived, I'd come from somewhere over there, came to visit this tunnel right here, and then again sprinted down this way. And I believe last time I had given up on this tunnel simply because there was a bit of a ladder that led to it, but it was hanging on by a thread. And also the slope on this is probably got a good, whoa, we're good, just rocks, we're fine. 20 to 30 degrees, and then as it comes around the corner, it dips to a fairly solid 40. Oh boy, there is no safe space to walk here. This is the adventure right here. Just going down the hill. Oh, and there we go down here. Yep, recognize it all now, guys. Just lovely. Now it points out like, oh, there's another tunnel down this way, but then when you get here, the tunnel quite literally just runs through the river here. And last time, take a look at this. I don't trust that ladder. It's barely attached to the 100-year-old brick wall. Hello, little moth. Didn't want to come down too far this way. We've got somebody's property over here. And once again, heavily regretting not wearing the hiking boots for this one, especially considering the history I have of slipping in these videos and going down. We'll just take it as easily as we can. Try and make sure our footing is secure with each step. But this looks like very deep and soft mud, which I would very much like to avoid. And then brings us over to here. I don't know. You guys think I can make that jump? Worst case scenario, I've just got to dry my shoes, right? I don't want to drop my phone or the power bank. So here we go. Oh, nope, didn't make it. Definitely didn't make it. Oh, remember how I said worst case scenario, dry my shoes? Whew, I'm gonna need to dry my pants. Okay, man, whoa, huge spider web there. Sorry, spider. Sorry, spider. Whew. All right. That brings us into this tunnel right here, which is quite literally, I don't think you can see it, but just blocked off by spider webs there. And I kind of feel like I've somewhat stuck myself in here. So, oh, big spider web right there that I almost walked right into. All right, well, we're soaking wet anyway. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. Thank you so much. Let me know what you thought of it down below, and we'll see you again real soon.